Hello, my name is Zachariah Van Sliders with Old Man Gaming. This is another horrible review. So let's get started with everybody's favorite part, the disclaimers. I am a house dad. I do not get money for this, so you might hear something in the background. I might take a long, awkward pause, or it just might not be that good. And I'm not going to go back and edit it because I don't get paid for it. Number two, video games are one of the most subjective forms of art, in my opinion, so you will be getting no score from what I think. You are going to be getting an overview of the game, the pros, cons, and whether or not I'm going to stick with it, and all of these are my opinion. I say again, if you like a game, play a game. Don't listen to what other people say. Final disclaimer. I only get a few hours with most of these games, so it's kind of like an everyman's opinion of them. However, with this game, it is a kind of a special case. So, all that out of the way, let's get into it. Today I am reviewing Destiny 2 FTP. The FTP stands for Free to Play. The situation is this. Originally, Destiny was being published under Activision's label. Activision, much like EA, is a blood-sucking, money-grubbing corporation. So after many years of internal strife, Bungie has become independent, breaking away from their corporate overlords or whatever. And in doing this, they've retooled this game. They've also retooled the way it works. One of the things they've done is they made the base game free to play. You can go into the store and download it for free. Not only do you get the base game, but you get 2 of the 4 expansions for free. How do they make money? They have switched to like a battle pass, season pass sort of scenario, much the way of like a Fortnite. And you also have to pay for the 2 newest expansions if you want that content. As far as the overview of the game, you are a guardian in a super futuristic situation. Destiny kind of blends magic with technology, where the human race as well as a couple of alien races discovered the light, which allows them powers and magic and all sorts of stuff. And then of course with that came the darkness, which is usually represented in the other different alien factions that you will be constantly fighting in this. The story is a little fluid and a little liquid. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the cons, so I'm not going to get too deep into it right now. The idea behind this game, the basis of this game, is it is a looter shooter. In my opinion, I feel like this game kind of comes from Borderlands 2, even though it's very different. The idea behind it being you do a repetitive thing for gears and equipment and other stuff, and then you make your character better that way. That's the gameplay loop. In the game, you use a ship to fly from planet to planet. Each planet has this huge built map, and this map you can explore in many different ways. You can do it as an open world where bad guys just populate, as well as other heroes. It's an MMO in that sense, that it's always online and there are other characters in the game. You can do patrols or adventures in that, which are just things you find in the open world. Alternatively, you can also do quests, which are larger forms of that kind of take you down a central path that kind of tells the story. You also get these things called strikes later, which are more contained stories. They still use the same map elements that you've already been introduced to in the open world, but it makes it much more of a linear situation. They usually take about 30 to 40 minutes. Then, of course, there's the raids, which I hate, but we'll get to that as well. Now, unlike Borderlands, although you do loot and you get new equipment, weapons, and armor, the weapons are upgradable in this, which is a pleasant surprise. There's also a fair amount of tinkering to the loadouts and whatnot. Whereas I would feel like Borderlands is a little bit more about the build first, then the loot second. I know a lot of people will disagree with that, but you can't do as much with the weapons as you can with the actual character classes. In this, the character classes feel straight up like, here's some things you can do, and there is some differences to them, but they don't really stack. There isn't those like crazy builds. It's not about the character build so much as the weapon build, which creates this light score on your character. And the light score unlocks new events, shows how powerful you are, and basically it's an overall average of the entirety of your armor and weapons together. Alright, so, I mean, that's kind of the basic overview. There is a lot to do in this game and a lot to unpack, which is nice. But there's some downsides to it, too.
Hey.
So let's get right into the positive negatives. Let's go pros first. I like to start positive. Pros. There's a lot to do in this game. It's very hard to get bored of things, and even when they feel samey, there's kind of like you can patrol a planet, and then you can get the patrols. You could do a patrol here, and then do an adventure, which is like a mini quest. And then you could do a quest and go through that line. You don't like that, they constantly shove in these public events as well, which are like localized events to the map. Like a specific place will show a public event is incoming within the next 3 minutes. You go there with any other characters that want to participate, and then some big battle happens, which those are really cool. It's one of the standouts to the game because you can get, it just keeps leveling up the more people who are involved in it, and you can get like 14 players in there, and then there's just bad guys everywhere, and it's like a mini battle on the screen, which is really fun. I also really enjoy the weapons in this game. The weapons are very in-depth. There's a lot to do with them and a lot to unpack with them. They have a lot of different little abilities, and I love the fact that once you get a weapon that you like, you can stick with it and build onto it. They've also added something called masterworking, and I am now 100% positive with this because I haven't been able to actually do it yet, but basically it means you can take one of your rare weapons to legendary, I think. Don't quote me on that. In any case, I do love the idea of, like, I really like this pistol, I want to make this better, and just staying with it and keep adding points to it to make it better. You also get bounties, which in a lot of ways will remind you of like mobile free-to-play quest challenges in games like that. Like, it'll be like you'll go to the weapon guy and he'll be like, hey, shoot 50 guys with a sniper rifle, and that'll give you upgrade modules which allow you to upgrade your weapons and armor. It also gives you other stuff that allow you to do other things, like modify the weapons and armor. And a lot of different characters have that. I've gotten off topic a little bit, so let's go back to the specific pros. A huge pro that I really want to throw out there is the gunfighting in this feels amazing. It feels amazing, and it's definitely gunfight centered. What I mean by that is, as much as I love Borderlands, and as good as it feels to shoot things in Borderlands, everything kind of has a bullet spongy feel to it. And it's supposed to. That's the way that game's supposed to feel. I'm not knocking Borderlands. In this, it's not like that. It's much more like a localized kind of Halo shooter with those elements of like what kind of gun you're using and what kind of damage it's doing and whatnot. But it's not to the point where like you can't kill something with a lower leveled pistol if you're just good at shooting. And I really like that. I like that it's not, it makes you feel like you're playing the game, not just doing something to acquire more levels to do more things. You actually have to, do the game, which is good. I like that. Little confession here that feeds into the next pro, and I'm sorry the pros are not quite as itemized this time around, but I actually bought this game when it first came out, when it was still published through Activision, and I felt like there was a lot of kind of predatory macro transactions and a lot of other bullshit around it, especially considering you're paying full price for the game to start. And a lot of that's been fixed. They've definitely fixed a lot of the bank and storage capacities in it. They've allowed you to do a lot more stuff that you would want to do with the game to make it a little bit more fluid. Like, you can tell that instead of just being about going from point A to point B in this one, they're like, hey, go do what you want to do, play in our sandbox, which is one of the things that I truly love about games when they do it right. They also have a wide range of weapons. Like, one thing that's great, it's not all guns. You can get swords. I have a character who's based on melee, and that's just awesome. I also love that when the character goes into melee, it's not like a Fallout first-person melee that's kind of just janky. falls back to third-person mode, which makes it just so much more responsive and better for the melee fights, and I love that. And then, of course, the addition of the finishing moves is nice, but I have a couple of problems with that, which we're about to talk about. So, I think that covers the pros. So we're going to go into the cons now. Since I segued into it with that, I'm going to start with the finishing maneuvers. Look, I love the idea of the finishing maneuvers. Just to explain, they've added this thing where if you shoot a bad guy down to like a quarter or a third of their health, they get this little like glowing bubble over their head, and if you get close to them and you hit them with a certain type of melee attack, it like drops back into this quick cinematic where you like punch them through a wall or you like ninja kick them off the whatever. It's cool. I think it's a cool idea. In this kind of play space, it's a little bit irritating because they really want to show it off, but at the same time there's not a lot of different ones. Let me explain. There's a bounty for the weaponsmith, a lot of bounties for the weaponsmith to get the upgrade modules that I need, that mean that I have to do finishing moves to characters in a certain place, but a lot of them. So the game kind of becomes, instead of like this fun finishing maneuver that you get to do every once in a while, it becomes like I have to find a way to shoot everything down to a third of it, and then punch it, and then shoot everything down to it. Like it almost becomes an irritating mechanism that I wish wasn't there, even though I want it to just be this cool thing that I get to do every once in a while. Also, it doesn't give you any health, which is a little bit frustrating when you have to like run into the fray to get them off in the first place. So I wish they kind of managed, I guess, the hoopla around them, like maybe make it less that you have to get to actually get those missions, less grindy in that feel. I don't know, but I can tell you after getting one of those I was a little bit sick of my Superman punch, so that was a little frustrating. It was a little nitpicky. But I gotta be nitpicky. It's a review after all, right? So, con number 2. The story is... Look, maybe I'm just too dense, okay? Maybe my old man brain just doesn't take in this information in the correct way, but it seems nonsensical. It's so contradictory. Still, there's so many things that just aren't even explained. I can tell you right now, I played the first game, not all the way until the raids, not all the way until it got good, but I played through the entirety of the first main game, and that left me with a bunch of questions. I played the entirety of the second game, and I am playing it again, and I'm still like, alright, I don't even, why, like, there's so many times where somebody just prattles on about the light and the artifacts and that, and I'm like, I don't even fucking know what's happening right now. So I wish... Honestly, what I wish they do is what Mass Effect did with the original Mass Effect like entries, where you could just go to a select screen and there was a narrator and he would just read you 2 paragraphs on a thing you discovered. That's what I'd love to do, because I'd love to like really understand the lore of this game, and I just don't right now. Although I will say 2 was better than 1 as far as like the story explanation, but one thing that is irritating, and I didn't start a character over again, but I did go back in with another character, is if you're going back in with the other character, like, you're kind of playing things randomly, and if they do that with a starting character, it's very, like, I don't know how you'd pick anything up. Okay, so, third con. This game doesn't tell you anything. Like, again, I didn't restart a character, so it could just be me forgetting a lot of stuff and coming back, and that's bad. But when I came back into it, I mean, you released it as a free-to-play. You've definitely changed the light levels since the last time I played. A lot of stuff has changed. I would like a little bit more, maybe not tutorials, but a little bit more leadership, even if it's just help boxes that I can eventually turn off, mainly because for a while I couldn't figure out how to upgrade my equipment again, because now you need these upgrade modules, which, if I recall correctly before, you just needed the legendary shards. There was other stuff, like, I didn't even know I could do quests. I thought I could only do bounties for the first, like, 2 days I was playing. until I found the place for the quests again. Just stuff like that I wish they could just like have a little box that leads me to. Like, you don't have to do a full tutorial or something like that. I know that would piss people off, but just like, especially if a player's coming back into it, if you're trying to get these players back in, like, just something to be like, hey, this is what you gotta do. Alright, we're going a little bit long, but there's a lot to unpack with this. So I have another con, and this is a very practical old man con. And that con is the download size of this game is astronomical. If you want to play this game free to play, and you're listening to this right now, pause it, go upstairs, go to the living room, go to your Xbox, go to your PlayStation, and get it starting download unless you have amazing speed internet, because this sucker is a 96 gigabyte download at this point. Okay? That's huge. That's huge. I don't necessarily believe there's anything they can do about it to fix that, but it is a little frustrating. Me and Logan wanted to play it. We started downloading it, and off and on, like, it took us like 2 or 3 days to get it up and running for both of us. So, that being said, that gigabyte size is just absolutely huge. Again, I don't have a solution. I don't know how to fix it, but I gotta point it out. It was definitely a downside for me. And that brings us to whether or not I'm going to stick with it. So I'll answer that with this. Anybody out there who wants to join a clan, me and Logan created the Horrible Clan. We are only in it. It's just us. Our tagline is, we are just ... horrible. So we're planning on continuing to play it, and anybody who wants to join us, feel free to apply to get in. I'm going to stick with it. I enjoy it. The shooting is good. I do like some of the changes that they've made, and I definitely want to see where it goes, because when you come back to it, you kind of have to re-earn everything to be able to unlock the DLCs, so I haven't even been able to get back to the point where I can do the DLCs again. So I'm excited to see those. I'm excited to play it. And one thing I do like about it, is I could turn off and just play. I could just jump in, pick a map, and just start killing things, which is nice sometimes. So I will be sticking with it. And that concludes an oversized review of Destiny 2 free to play. I hope this helps some guys. I hope it didn't piss anybody off, because some of my reviews have had that effect. But either way, I appreciate you guys watching, and as long as you guys keep watching it, I will keep making them. And see you next time. Did you enjoy that horrible content? Well, there's more horrible content all over this channel. You can check out our horrible podcasts, or you can check out our other horrible reviews. Be sure to subscribe and turn notifications on, and then we'll let you know when horrible products are ready for you to view. You can also do so at Facebook, Old Man Gaming, and then we can notify you in 2 different places. Fun! Also, click any of the links around you to witness some of that horrible programming right now. I mean, why do anything else? It's YouTube.